telling these tears go and fall away, fall away. Oh, may the last one burn into flames. Freedom, freedom, I can't move. Freedom, cut me loose. Yeah. Freedom, freedom, where are you? 'Cause I need freedom too. I break chains all by myself. Won't let my freedom rot in hell. Hey, I'ma keep on running 'cause the winner don't quit on themselves.
Thank you, Shelveen. Appreciate you kicking us off with the music. Good morning, everyone. I am Kristen Tremarchi. I'm part of the executive office team at the California Student Aid Commission, and I get to be the first one to welcome you to CSAC's February All In and Ready webinar. As you can see, many people are already using it. We would like to invite you to use the chat and share your school site or location. Let us know where you're joining us from. Today, we'll be hearing information and discussion about this month's focus on African American and Black students. If you move to the next slide, please. Start with some logistics and reminders. We will endeavor to have you on your way by 10 o'clock this morning. And while we use the chat for informal communication, we want to ask you to please use the Zoom Q&A. We do have staff standing by, ready to respond to your questions. And as you probably noticed when you joined, we are recording the webinar, and it will be posted both on our YouTube channel and our website. That information is listed right there on the slide. For anyone who may need it, you can use closed captioning and toggle the captions on and off from the meeting toolbar. And we invite you all also to join us on social media at CA Student Aid. Next slide, please. For anyone who may not be familiar with us, CSAC is the principal state agency responsible for administering financial aid programs for students attending public and private universities, colleges, and career technical education schools in California. Our mission is promoting educational equity by making post-secondary education affordable for all Californians. On behalf of CSAC, we are grateful to have you here. Next slide, please. So for today's agenda, we will have welcome and opening remarks from CSAC's Commissioner, Dr. Brian Hayes, as well as our Executive Director, Dr. Daisy Gonzalez. We'll then hear from Tay Kang, who will be providing some context and solutions for outcomes for this student population. We'll then move to our training manager, Leslie Matthews, who will be moderating a panel including our partners, Dr. Morel Green and Dennis Michael. And then we will move to CSAC FAFSA resources and tools with our own Dr. Jessica Moldoff, and wrapping up with Chief Deputy Director Catalina Missler. With that, I'm going to hand that off to you, Dr. Gonzalez. Welcome, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, Kristen. Good morning, everyone. If we could go to the next slide, team. I want to ground us, and I already see in the chat that many of you know that we are celebrating African American Black History Month. And this is our webinar where, number one, we acknowledge that in the state of California, we want every student to succeed. But in February, we are not just celebrating Black History Month. We are very clear in our intention for this month. It's a month where we elevate courage, where we grow hope, where we empower resilience, and where many of us have to step to the side and elevate our partners and our leaders with lived experiences, with a commitment, with an entire lifetime in a pursuit of justice. That's what February is for me. I woke up top of mind thinking about the word justice. I know many of you know the history of this country. If you don't, I am a sociologist. I'm happy to talk to you about it. But when we celebrate Black History Month, when we talk about a month like this in education specifically, we are talking about racial equity. We are talking about the pursuit of justice in education, to access it and to succeed, more importantly. And when you have equity goals like the California Student Aid Commission does, we have to be very clear about the intentionality when we say we're celebrating a month like this, and get very clear that equity goals remind us every single month, but especially in a month like today, that the work is year-round. So today's webinar and our grounding is a little bit different than what we've done in prior months. Because when we talk about equity at the California Student Aid Commission, we absolutely start with the mindset. I'm going to pause here and tell you a story about the people that influenced me. But one of the first professors that influenced me was Dr. Williams in college. And he reminded me, my first sociology class, the barometer to any democracy is how our African American males are doing in education. He would remind me that. That is how we know when our democracy is healthy and when the humanity of a society is being elevated for all groups. And so today, we are not just thinking about our equity goals. We are not just elevating those who are experts in this area, but we are elevating the partnerships that we all need to be making to help many more African American students and scholars succeed, particularly our male students and professionals, I should mention. So I want to make sure that I acknowledge and recognize Dennis Michael, Dr. Green, who are here, who have been leading this work statewide. And I also want to acknowledge the work. When you ask me about data and research, there are so many colleagues who have done entire studies statewide. The first one that you see here on the left side are our colleagues at the Campaign for College Opportunity. They have led their study and have updated it several years in a row. You also saw the CSU System Office under this new chancellor do an entire study of how African American students are doing, and they led a set of efforts and recommendations on how to advance Black student success within the CSU system. And most recently, you had Ed Trust West publish Black Minds Matter, connecting the pipeline between K through 12 and higher education and making a set of recommendations. And at the bottom of the screen, you should be seeing our Black Student Success colleagues who meet every single year. This year will be in April to ensure that we are elevating Black student success year round. I want to invite you to visit their website and learn more about their efforts, because my grounding this morning is a big reminder that we play a role. Whether you're that high school counselor, that college access professional, a faculty, I saw a number of you who keep coming back, and I see you in different spaces and you remind me, hey, I actually don't live in California, but I love tuning in and watching these webinars. Welcome. Because here in California, we are centered, we understand our role. And today's webinar is about understanding where financial aid and college affordability can become a lever for student success, particularly for African American male students. 2 in 5 African American students graduate from high school meeting A through G requirements. If you're from California, you know that that is a critical metric. That's a critical metric to go to a UC, a CSU. And more importantly, when you look at this data, these are real human beings, everyone. It's not a percentage. While we know the percentage of African American in terms of the K through 12 population is 5%, in real human beings, 2 out of 5 African American students are graduating from our K through 12 system, A through G ready. 1 in 3 African American community college students earn a certificate or degree within 6 years. For those of you working at a community college, I know that this number is not good enough. It should be 3 out of 3, 100%. And fewer than 1 in 3 African American students actually transfer to a 4-year college or university. This is our foundation, our baseline. Our baseline to know that, number one, we each all have a role, and that we need all of us rowing in the same direction, and that direction is student success. I also want to make sure that I share with you that while we know that 5% of the K through 12 population in our state are African American students, there are fewer than 10,120 African American teachers in our K through 12 system. And out of those 10,120 African American teachers, only 3,370 were male teachers. Representation matters, and we need to know that as partners. And in 2023, when I looked at the data, and this is my transition to our next speaker, I looked at the data and I asked myself, but where are our students going, and where do they have a higher likelihood of success? And in 2023, 5% of UC students were African American. And out of all the UCs in the state, Riverside had the largest share of African American students. And shortly, you're going to know why. the why I think, and I think maybe I'm biased, but you're going to meet Dr. Brian Haynes, a governor's appointee, the University of California representative. He's the vice chancellor of student affairs at UC Riverside since 2018. He currently oversees and leads an organization of 450 staff, administrators, paraprofessionals that support programs, an entire ecosystem of the student experience. He has spent a long career, not just mentoring, not just working in higher education in multiple different states, but understanding and being a tireless advocate to building community partnerships and access, while at the same time meeting the urgency of supporting students in a campus, in the classroom, while simultaneously serving as a role model for many students. He's nationally recognized and serves in multiple associations, including the Association of Public and Land Grant Universities, Student Affairs Administrators of Higher Education, NASPA, and the College Student Educators International Association. He's also a proud father, a husband, and to us at CSAC, a fearless statewide student-centered leader. And he's the commissioner of the California Student Aid Commission. And I'm so excited to hand it over to Dr. Haynes to welcome you all this morning. Thank you for being here, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gonzalez, for that introduction. And to our esteemed guests, panel members, thank you for being here as well. We're really excited as we celebrate Black History Month. I'm reminded of a quote this morning by the late, great Nelson Mandela, which says that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And that's what we're about here at the University of California, Riverside. That's what we're about in the UC system. And certainly that's what we are about here at CSAC. Again, I'm honored to be here with you this morning to celebrate Black History Month, but also to participate in our All In and Ready webinar series, African American and Black Student Success, Pathways and Partnerships. Again, I want to thank you all for being here, and most importantly, for the work that you do in supporting our students and family. As previously mentioned by Dr. Gonzalez, my day job, so to speak, is to serve as Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs here at the University of California, Riverside. And I want to recognize and thank all of our financial aid experts and advocates for all of the hard work that you do to help students pursue their college dreams and their college careers and careers post-college. My story, and we all have a story. Perhaps my story is similar to your story. Born and raised inner city, Columbus, Ohio. Never thought that education was a possibility. Never dreamed of going to college. Got involved in a program that many of you are familiar with, Upward Bound, which is a TRIO program. There, as an Upward Bound participant, my college dreams started to crystallize. And the thing that I remember most about my Upward Bound experience was visiting colleges and universities, not only in the state of Ohio, but around the country. And the confidence that that gave me that I could pursue a college education and a college dream. And I know many of you on this webinar this morning are the ambassadors for many of the students that you interact with, and you help those students pursue their college dreams. This month, the Commission is uplifting African American and Black scholars. I want to thank our presenters here today. Dr. Green, you'll hear more from him in a few moments, President-elect at the African American Male Education Network and Development. And Mr. Dennis Michael, Project Manager at the California Association of African American Superintendents and Administrators, who will also share their personal stories and insights in serving their community. Again, we all have a story, and we all have an important story, and we must share our story with future generations of Black students, but all students. We hope you find this webinar informative and encouraging in serving all of our California students and families. I also want to thank the Commission staff for their hard work to ensure that students and families can access and complete their financial aid application. We are 18 days from the March 2nd deadline. The clock is ticking, and we all have a lot of work to do to ensure that as many students, in particular Black and African American students, complete the FAFSA application. So please encourage students and families to apply for financial aid using the FAFSA or California Dream Act application, and let them know that it is safe to complete to get financial resources for college. The Commission remains student-centered and laser-focused, as Dr. Gonzalez mentioned, on providing resources to help our students here in California succeed. Again, thank you all for being here this morning. We're really, really excited about the program, the webinar that we have here for you. And now I'd like to turn things over to Tay Kang for the next part of the program.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Haynes, for grounding us and your welcome and your powerful words this morning. Next slide. So yes, I'm here this morning to really just remind all of us here that here at the Student Aid Commission, we are committed to advancing equity for African American and Black students who face systemic barriers that limit access to higher education. And I want to be able to do that today with some of the data points that should really share and expose some of the different barriers that our Black students face. Now, as Dr. Gonzalez shared earlier, a lot of this data is not new, and you can find it in many of those publications from the campaign to EdTrust West, the CSU study. So I will be just sharing some of that same data. It's being presented here for the purpose of just establishing a shared context for our panel discussion. On this slide, the data shows 4 key financial aid barriers. Now, there's many other barriers, but these are the 4 prominent ones, specifically around financial aid barriers. In 2022-23, only 48% of Black high school seniors completed their FAFSA. And even though aid is essential for college access and persistence, we only saw less than half of our Black high school seniors complete their FAFSA. The role of schools is to guarantee that they have access to the FAFSA and financial aid. However, many of these schools lack the resources and the necessary counselors to really provide that intentional support. In the 2019-20 study, 88% of Black students who did actually attend college experienced some level of unmet need, meaning that they were not able to maximize their financial aid. So Black students facing an average unmet need of $9,000. That's a big gap. That's a big gap that oftentimes will lead to students having to take out loans, which then causes a big stress on them to try to fill that gap and have that student loan debt. And as you can see here, that unmet need is the highest amongst student groups. And Black students also have the highest student loan debt, as mentioned. And then economic inequities also further compound these particular challenges. Nearly half of California's Black families live in poverty, according to a study. And many Black students attend under-resourced, segregated high schools with limited college prep opportunities. Addressing affordability requires coordinated action across the K-12, higher education, local government, and community partners. Next slide. The data here powerfully illuminates the persistent inequities within our educational systems and help us better understand the crisis our African American and Black students face in our K-12 system and our higher education system. As you can see, the high school graduation rates, Black students in California graduate high school at lower rates than all racial and ethnic groups, and even below the state average of 83.6. They also trail white students, as mentioned by Dr. Gonzalez, by 17 percentage points in the A through G completion, a gap that has remained unchanged from year to year. College readiness, as we look at college going rates, mirrors this same type of inequity. Only 35% of Black students meet UC and CSU eligibility requirements compared to 52% of white students. Again, that 17% gap between Black and white students. Consequently, just 55% of Black students graduate high school actually enroll in college. And of that 55% that go to college, 62% or almost 2/3 of them begin their college journey in the community college segments. And as we look at completion rates and success rates, equity gaps persist through college completion. 6-year graduation rates further highlight this particular disparity. 83% for Asian students, 75% graduation rates for white students, 64% for Latino students, and 52% for Black students. And within the CSU system, Black students graduate at 47.2% compared to 71% for Asian and white students and 53.6%. So we see that this pipeline here, there's our Black students are struggling to persist within each of these particular pipelines. Next slide. So here's our opportunity, and this is the reason why we're here today. It's really to uplift and recognize our African American and Black students and the inequities that they face and the systemic barriers that they face. And with more recent data, in the 24-25 FAFSA year, we saw that 66% of our Black students did complete their FAFSA, which is a increase, an 18% increase from the 22-23 year. But this improvement aligns with the implementation of AB 469, which was passed in 23-24, or the All-In campaign, which requires all high school seniors to complete the FAFSA or CADA unless they formally opt out. And this policy has contributed to statewide rise in financial aid completion statewide. However, despite these gains and statewide mandate, Black students continue to complete the FAFSA and CADA at lower rates than other racial and ethnic groups. And the continuous gap suggests that legislation alone is not sufficient to ensure equitable access. Next slide. And so here's our keys to success. One of the keys to our success is our partnerships and the support that we continue to provide our Black and African American students. You can see here that there's many different types of barriers that they have to overcome, but we have a strong ecosystem of support that is essential to advancing success for our students, our Black students. And across California, we have several impactful Black-led organizations that are driving equity-based change, from our student association leadership groups within each of the campuses, from Umoja that provides curriculum and training and statewide partnerships to our Black students. A2Men, we have someone, Dr. Green here to speak on that today. From NANDI to even California Black Serving Institutions, we have seen some of our campuses that have been designating with that particular designation of a Black serving institution. And so many, many more partnerships and different organizations that continue to support. And so the key really is to continue to build upon that ecosystem and collaboratively work together. Next slide. I believe this is my final slide. And as Dr. Commissioner Haynes mentioned, we're 18 days away from the March 2nd deadline. So really completing the FAFSA enables California students to access federal aid, including Pell Grants, and then connect them to state aid administered by us, the California Student Aid Commission. And you can see here on the California financial aid, there is so much financial aid that students can access by completing their FAFSA or California DREAM Act application, from the Cal Grant to Middle Class Scholarship, Golden State Teachers Grant, Foster Youth, Chafee, and the Cal HBCU. So For students to maximize their financial aid, it's imperative that they complete their FAFSA or DREAM Act by the March 2nd deadline. And I want to just end with one final data point that I will leave you with. And you can see here that for our Black students who are receiving our two largest state financial aid programs, the Cal Grant and Middle Class Scholarship. In the Cal Grant program, only about 5% of Black students are receiving a Cal Grant. And in the Middle Class Scholarship, only 3.8%. And so with 19 days left, really the call to action is to encourage and support our Black and African American students so that they can maximize their financial aid and begin that journey to higher education. So with that, I will pass the baton over to my colleague Leslie Matthews, CSAC Training Manager, who will lead us in our panel discussion.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Tay. While, yeah, some of those data points were a little disappointing, but we're all here to do the work to get those numbers up, and I know that we can do it. I am the training manager here at the Student Aid Commission. I've been here for almost 5 years. I started in July of 2021. And before coming here, I admit that I wasn't very familiar with financial aid. And since I've been here, though, I've made it my mission to tell everybody that I know about their filling out their FAFSA or their CADA, and just making sure that all the students in California, particularly African American and Black students, are putting those applications in, because I do know that we are underrepresented in that. And I think that's what it takes. It's going to take advocacy from all of us just to make sure that we're out there and we're getting the message out that there's money there for them and to get their educations. And it starts in high school, in K-12, and just to make sure that they're aware, and that also that the staff is aware and reaching out and having outreach to those students. So I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy to be joined by Dr. Morel Green, who is the president-elect of the African American Male Education Network and Development, or A2MEND. And then we have Dennis Michael, who's the project manager of the California Association of African American Superintendents and Administrators, or CASA. So I will just start out with Dr. Green, if you can please start with a brief overview of A2MEND and tell us a little bit about your organization.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I just want to make sure you can hear me. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Again, thank you for having me. My name is Dr. Morel Green. Morel is fine in this setting. My wife was the first Dr. Green, so every time I hear it, I'm reminded of her, and not myself. But I serve as the Dean of Counseling at Solano Community College, and I am going to say something really quick and then go into what AMEND is. I want to shout out, I'm looking at the webinar chat. I see Dewana Brown, who I went to high school with many years ago. And it's good to see you on this call. And also Rachel Gray, who asked a question, one of my former colleagues from Merced College. So great to see both of you. I have had the pleasure of being in AMEND, which is the African Male Education Network and Development Program, for the last 18 years. 20 years ago, there were about 6 African American male deans that were at an ACA conference. And when they were at this conference, they realized that they were the only ones in the room. As African Americans will do at times, they tended to gravitate towards themselves in a corner and say, "Hey, what do you do? What do you do?" Because there were so few of them in the room. And what they realized was that they felt that they needed more Black men in these rooms and in these spaces where college is being talked about. So the goal was to increase the number of African American males as administrators, as faculty, as staff, and as students. So they formed this group, very grassroots, and ended up having a conference. And this conference was at a community college in Southern California. About 150 people were there, and I had the pleasure of being asked to go. And so I went to the conference and I looked up on the stage and I saw about 12 or 13 of these men who were all introducing themselves as Doctor this and Doctor that and Doctor this and Doctor that. And they had their nice suits on. And I said, whatever this is, I want to be a part of it. And so I applied and I was able to join them in 2008. And since then, the work has really changed. So I will talk about what we started trying to do and what we're doing today. And please, Leslie, tell me when I'm talking too much. But when we started out, the goal was to, again, increase the number of Black males on California community college campuses. And we said each one of us would be responsible for mentoring at least 2 students at a time. That quickly grew to, we found ourselves mentoring about 10 students each at a time. And we said, you know what, the demand is too high. And as we look at these numbers, we see why. And so what we decided to do was start having charters at different schools, because instead of saying, I'm going to mentor these 10 students, which we still do, we said we need more. So we said, let's have a men charter, almost like a club on campuses. As it stands today, we're at about 55 campuses across the state. These are all California community colleges, and we've had the luxury of, now that some of our students have gone on to the 4-year universities, as of a year ago, we have started 3 charters at the university level at Cal Berkeley, Sacramento State, and our first HBCU, Tuskegee University. About 10 years ago, the governor recognized us as one of the front runners of assisting African American males. And so we started getting a little funding, and we were like, well, we've been poor. What do we do now? And so we fostered those funds into scholarships for our students. We funded that into an annual trip every year as we take them to a different part of Africa so they can get travel and study abroad experience. And that's what we do. So I can go on if you want, but I'll stop there.
Thank you, Dr. Green, or Morel, right? Because your wife is number 1. Okay, so I am now going to ask the same of Dennis Michael. Tell us a little bit about you, your organization, and what you do. And yeah, we have a lot to discuss, and I know it's very exciting. And I've even learned from Morel that I'm going to get my son to go. He's at a junior college. I'm going to make him go to a men. So and forgive us for the mispronunciation. A men, not a to men. So I'm going to go ahead and go with you, Mr. Michael, and tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Sure. First, I'm one of those persons with 2 first names. So my name really is Michael Dennis, but they have Dennis Michael here, but that's okay. But I represent CASA, which is the California Association of African American Superintendents and Administrators. And we work through the K-12, TK-12 system now, preparing those students to go through to college. And we work with A2Men, and we work with California Student Aid Commissions throughout the years. I have had 32 years in education. I was a teacher for 13 years, an administrator for 18 years, including a principal of schools for 15 years. So I'm very familiar with the challenges of, getting our young African-American students, particularly our males, ready for the next level, which is college and career for us. So CASA, as we're called, we represent about 45 African-American superintendents throughout the state of California. That doesn't sound significant, but when we initialized the organization started in 1993, but about 15 years ago, there was only 13 of us. If you think about, there's 1,100 superintendent jobs in the state of California. We had 13 of them throughout the state. So fast forward now 15 years, it's about 45 of us. So we range from 45 to 40 and sometimes to 50. And, once you get to a position of the running schools, it really is a very difficult and challenging position to be in. So we provide the networking and support for those superintendents to be successful. Because although they're African American and most of them are in districts that do have African American students, but most of them are in districts that do not have African American students. So we want to make sure all students see our face as a face of leadership when it comes to education in California. Because when you can see something, you can start believing you can be that. So when students see us in leadership, whether they're African American students or not, they respect it, and then they who are African American see that that's something that they can aspire to as well. We also represent about 800 African American administrators throughout the state of California as part of our membership, and what we provide again is a pipeline for higher positions, way up until superintendency as well. And we believe that pipeline is what will sustain us as leaders in the state of California. So we have three major events that we do. We have a youth empowerment, a youth leadership summit. And I say that because as I talk about student aid, the students have to become leaders and advocates for their education. They can't just wait for the teachers. They can't wait for someone else to tell them. We believe in building leadership from the students up. So when we get kids to be empowered leaders and they go back to school and say, you know what, I found out how we can get money for college. I found out how, I can get networking. I found out these things that's going to help me do what I desire to do in life. They go back to schools as student leaders with information and empowerment through our Student Leadership Summit. And another big part of getting African American students particularly informed and connected with FAFSA is the parents. So we do a parent empowerment summit. We bring hundreds of parents, together, and we talk to them about, supporting your kid in high school and encouraging them to go to college. And we also educate them about what FAFSA is and why it's important that they fill it out. And I'll say this, I know we'll talk about this more, is our parents, and this is no new news, they have a distrust of government. When COVID came out, a lot of African American parents didn't want to get the shot because they were thinking, it may be something, the government and all those type of things. So when you can clear the field and let them know that, no, this is good for you, it's good for your family, it's good for your children, then you start seeing increases in those rates for FAFSA and filling out FAFSA forms, and kids are going to college and staying in college. So we empower children, we empower their parents, and then we empower the educators, the teachers, and administrators that work with these kids to let them know that their culture is important, giving them information and resources is important, so that they have every tool that all other children have in terms of information. So when they are ready to go to college, or then they are encouraged to go to college, you'll see those numbers increase because now they feel that they're getting all the information, all the resources, all the support that others are getting, so they can be successful not just in high school but in college as well. So I'll kind of stop there, and I'll share other information in regards to how we kind of got those students and those parents involved in FAFSA so that they felt comfortable in completing those so their students can be successful in terms of going to college and staying in college. So I'll send it back to you, Ms. Matthews.
Thank you. And I apologize that we have your name mixed up. So thank you.
That's better. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael Dennis, not Dennis Michael. Thank you.
That was in real time. Very good. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a couple questions to ask both of you. You kind of explained it already as you were explaining your organizations, but I'm going to ask, what is one strategy or effort your organization did this year to encourage students to apply for financial aid or any type of college training program? And I can start. Why don't we start with you, Mr. Dennis, today?
Sure. And I'm just going to give a quick synopsis about how CASA got involved with this effort with FAFSA, improving FAFSA, increase in FAFSA applications for African American and Black students. We worked with the Black Caucus some years ago, CASA did. And what we found out is that African American students, Black students, were not filling out FAFSA, and we didn't know why. I mean, it was millions of dollars out there for our young people, and they would not fill out the application. So with Student Aid Commission, we went down to LAUSD, which has the largest number of Black students, but had the least percentage of them filling it out, to try to find out what was going on with these schools or our African American kids where they were not doing that. And yes, the counselors knew about FAFSA, and some of the students, or even most of them, knew about FAFSA, but there was some suspicion about what it could do for them. So we had information seminars, and we brought Student Aid Commission with us, and they talked about it. They kind of removed whatever doubts and stigmas these kids and their parents were having about filling out the FAFSA forms. And I talked about the mistrust of government early on. So what I have seen is that when you make it intentional that all children know about FAFSA and the benefits of it, and all parents know about it and why they should get involved, and that it's not something that's going to be detrimental to them to get involved, then those rates of FAFSA completion changed. It was about information, it was about empowerment, it was about consistency. And so once we started making that institutionalized within those schools, then those rates increased. So we're continuing that work. We're continuing to empower parents, we're continuing to empower students, we're continuing to empower the counselors. And I'll say this, being a young man from Chicago and all the challenges that our kids have, I've had, when we start believing that our children can do something, regardless of their conditions, then they will do it. So it was a matter of empowering them, saying that you are on their side, you believe in them, they believe in themselves, and then you start seeing some successes that you didn't get before. And those rates that were so low in LAUSD, they're gone up tremendously since the time that we started, working with schools and institutionalizing that FAFSA is a part of their education. Then we saw a lot of change, and we continue that work now.
Thank you. That's amazing. I will ask the same question of you, Morel.
Sure. So there are a few things that Amin believes in, and it ties in with this webinar. We go all in. And so what that means is we oftentimes in the California community college system, we have students who are underprepared. They're underprepared academically. They're underprepared knowing their financial plans. They're underprepared to be in the classroom, outside of the classroom, navigating the college system. One thing that we have done is all of our charters have advisors. And so it's the role of the advisor at each charter to ensure that the students are familiar with the BOG fee waiver, that they have their financial aid, and that they have anything that they need. Secondly, as the original goal was to promote more Black males in the administrator, faculty, and staff roles, we have positioned ourselves because there are many barriers even within our colleges for Black students. The college system wasn't designed for them. And so we have positioned ourselves to make sure that we can assist in those matters. There's a difference when a student came in my office yesterday because he was having trouble filling out a form to become a student worker. It's different when I'm walking over with him to my colleagues and saying, we need this form filled out. And so it's the same thing with financial aid. We've positioned ourselves as presidents, chancellors, vice presidents, myself as a dean, to be able to have those conversations with our colleagues to help support our Black students.
Thank you. Thank you both. Those are that's really powerful and really encouraging. So I hope that that both of your organizations continue in this work, and as we will. So one more question, and I know we do have some data things to cover in here. So I'm going to ask the question, I know we could talk for a long time, and we probably will have to talk again at some point just to get all this information. But I do want to ask one more question. What is a recommendation that you would give people on this call on how we can uplift Black students to successful pathways? Then that could be education or training or anything that you think can uplift our Black students.
I can answer that really quickly. Giving as much of our time as we can. And it's difficult. It's not easy work, but giving that time, making sure that we have resources and collectively connecting with every organization. So Amend is working with Nandi. We're working with Umoja individually. We're working with our individual fraternities. We're working with our churches in the community. We're working with the community centers, but creating a pipeline because as we can talk about California Community College, we can talk about high schools. We need to go back to the elementary schools. We need to start working with our middle school students, our pre-K, all the way to the grad school level. We need to create pipelines so our students can be successful throughout the educational system, no matter where they are. And I'll stop.
Absolutely. Mr. Dennis,
Yeah,
same question.
sure. Yeah, really quick. I would say to listen to our students. There's something called student voice, and it's throughout the school community, and it's powerful because you hear what the students have to say in terms of what they think is going on in their schools and their environment, what solutions that they believe that would help in the schools and in their environment. And when you listen to them and you engage them in a dialogue that's uplifting, you challenge what they say, but you also give them credit for some creative answers, then it changes the culture of your relationship with them, and it changes the culture of schools as well, because now they feel like the school belongs to them, and they're not just a guest there. So if you listen to your young students and empower them, and you mentor them, and you give them guidance, I think it can change the way they see themselves, and it'll change the school and the community as well. So listen to our kids. Sometimes they have some great answers.
Thank you. Thank you both. Those were really great answers. And I think that we all have some action, call to action moving forward. And we just want to thank you both for being here today. Mr. Dennis, there's a lot of things in the chat want to know about your youth summit. So we can reach out to you and get more information about that and be able to post it on our website. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Moldoff, who's going to talk about some of the data and related to this topic. So thank you both for being here with us today.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you also again to our speakers. It's always great to hear people that are on the ground doing the work. So my name is Dr. Jessica Moldoff. I'm the Deputy Director of Research Analysis and Program Innovation here at the Student Aid Commission. And as always, for these webinars, I'm here to provide an update of where we are at now, 17 and a half days away from the March 2nd deadline. So next slide, please. So here we are on Race to Submit. If you go on there today, this is the data that was updated just this morning. We're almost at 47% completion, which is awesome considering that back in 23-24, which to remind everyone, we're benchmarking against that year because that was the last year we opened on October 1st and were able to have a March 2nd deadline. We've been kind of in a FAFSA whirlwind ever since, but now we're kind of back to normal. But compared to that prior year, to 23-24, we're actually 5 percentage points ahead, which is amazing. Because of course we were hoping that 26-27 can really be our comeback year to reach again where we were at for the first year of the Universal FAFSA, AB 469, All-In campaign, whatever you want to call it. So we are hoping to get back to that number, but it looks like we're on a good pace to exceed that count. So we're really excited to see how we can bring it home. Next slide, please. So we want to make sure that everyone remembers, since we do only have about 17 and a half days left, we want to remind you all that we have resources on our website in order to help you with your limited resources to do better outreach in your communities. We have some great heat maps. There's an application by county dashboard where it has a heat map by county, but of course, all the counties here in California are gigantic. So we also created one for high school districts, which you can filter by county to really see if you're in one of those counties on the left that is in the red, which means that you're behind where you were at this time in 23-24. You can go over to the school district map and then filter by your county to really identify which school district is more behind than the other ones and may need that additional resource here in the last push for the completing the FAFSA or the CADA by the priority deadline. Next slide, please. So here we are. We're Olympic themed this month because, of course, now the Winter Olympics are going. So we are hoping to go for gold on March 2nd. This line graph shows exactly where we are tracking against 23-24. That's the dark blue line. You can see last year 24-25 is that light blue line, and then sorry, that was 2 years ago. And then the dark orange line is 25-26 last year. So you can kind of see how we're almost also coming up against last year. This is kind of where everything converges right at the deadline. If we've learned anything from students over these past 3 years of very different timelines, we know that they're always going to wait until the deadline. So we're hoping to see that final push in the last week. I think we're going to have some special events for that last week, which I believe will be talked about by our Chief Deputy Director now, Catalina Missler.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Moldoff. And so now we're at the 17 days. And if you go to our website, we have a clock there ticking down. It's 17 days, 14 hours, 6 minutes and 15, 14, 13 seconds. So please make sure that you are able to access our tools and what we have available for you. But we've got 17 days to do this hard work. And I know that many of you appreciate all the work that you've already done. But let's keep it moving, as Dr. Moldoff said. That last week is so important where students and families are trying to get to that last minute to submit. So appreciate all the work that you're already doing. Next slide. And we have the toolkits. Again, we know that many of you may not have your own resources, but that's what we're here for. CSAC is here to provide you the toolkits that you need for graphics, for videos. If you check out our website and look at the toolkits, the March 2nd priority deadline toolkit that we have, we're hoping that you're able to use these resources and copy them, use them as you may, and also check out all of the other resources that we have for our various campaigns, March 2nd campaigns. Next slide. So what can you do? And this is what we're hoping that we're all here for, right? We're listening, and thank you for all of the great stories that we've heard from all our panelists. And we want to just remind you that, again, we are here to take action. And I wanted to mention this because I love that song, and I try to play it every morning to listen. How many of you have heard the Wake Up Everybody by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes? It's a powerful anthem that calls for social change and collective responsibility. And we are here. We are all responsible to take action to help students and families take that next step and be given the resources that they have the right to receive to enroll and persist in college. So we want you to attend or share our in-person virtual events, share our FAFSA CADA social media toolkits. Remember to include the March 2nd deadline in your newsletters or communications, or as you're walking down the hall and seeing students. Again, remember, CSAC has reports available for the high schools to be able to identify which students have and have not completed. So we get down to that granular level, identifying students who haven't yet completed. So if you're at a high school, make sure that you ask the administrators that report's available and who's still remaining, who hasn't completed that. Create the 30 to 60 seconds video on the social media and add us as a collaborator. Again, we have Dr. Gonzalez videos out there encouraging students and families to get to that finish line. And again, we have the Elevate the I Heart California Dream Act campaign. We have materials for that, and we want to be able to share that with everyone to be able to put posters in their hallways and just continue to encourage students and encourage them to take that step to apply for financial aid. Next slide. So again, reminders, visit our websites. Please make sure you do that. Visit our website for all of the resources we have available. Attend our free Train the Trainer Cash for College workshops. Sign up for CSAC listserv to receive the latest communications of what's happening at CSAC. And then track the FAFSA CADA submission rates on the Race to Submit dashboard. You can track it on a regular basis to see how those high schools around your communities are doing, and even your own high school. So look to see where you're at. Let's get that number up. Let's get those percentages up and get these students to complete. Again, I'm gonna the Wake Up Everybody. I just want to mention this is that the song. It's Wake Up Everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking. Time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. So wake up, and it calls you to out the teachers. Teachers, you are part of this. You have students, you see them every day. Again, a quick reminder of the March 2nd deadline to apply for financial aid for those graduating high school seniors. Because again, the world won't get no better if we just let it be. The world won't get no better. We have to change it. Just you and you and you and all the other 394 people that are left on this call. Let's get moving. Let's get students to that finish line so that they can see and realize the dreams of going to college. Our next webinar is Thursday, March 12th. It's supporting undocumented students and bringing the DSIG to your community. Again, reminder, webinars are hosted the second Thursday from 9 to 10. And here's a song, if you haven't listened to it, take the opportunity to listen to it, and the words and the message are very clear. We have to do this together. And thank you everyone for all the work getting to that March 2nd deadline.
Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There's so much hatred, war and poverty. Wake up, all the teachers, time to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. 'Cause they're the ones who's coming up, and the world is in their hands. When you teach the children, teach them the very best you can. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. Na 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 na. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it now, just you and me.